Golden Bachelor. Love has no expiration date, and sometimes it doesn't follow the script we expect. When fans first met Peg and Mel on The Golden Bachelor, no one could have predicted the spark that would quietly grow between them. In a season filled with heartfelt conversations, emotional roses, and second chances at love, these two stood out, not because they were loud or dramatic, but because their connection felt effortless, real, mature, and maybe just a little magical. After the cameras stopped rolling, viewers couldn't stop asking the same question. Are Peg and Mel heading toward marriage? The rumors started subtly. A photo here, a sweet comment there, a weekend getaway that looked suspiciously romantic, and suddenly Bachelor Nation was in full detective mode. Were they planning something bigger? Were wedding bells already ringing? Let's rewind for a moment. On The Golden Bachelor, Peg captured hearts with her warmth and sharp wit. She wasn't afraid to laugh at herself, and she had a way of lighting up every room she entered. Mel, on the other hand, brought calm confidence and a steady presence. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't trying too hard. He simply showed up as himself, and that authenticity made people lean in. Their early conversations were filled with playful teasing. Peg would crack a joke, Mel would pretend to be mildly offended, and the two would dissolve into laughter. It felt less like a brand new romance and more like two old souls rediscovering each other. But love after a certain age isn't just about butterflies. It's about companionship. It's about choosing someone who understands your past while still being excited about your future. And that's exactly what viewers saw unfolding between them. When the season ended, fans assumed the romance might quietly fade, like so many reality TV connections before it. After all, real life is different from fantasy dates and candlelit dinners. There are grocery lists, morning coffee routines, and figuring out whose thermostat setting wins. But Peg and Mel surprised everyone. Instead of drifting apart, they seemed to grow closer. They were spotted attending events together. Friends described them as inseparable. One insider even joked that they were acting like teenagers with decades of wisdom. And that's when the marriage rumors truly took off. Social media lit up with speculation. Some fans claimed they noticed a subtle ring. Others pointed out how Peg referred to Mel as her forever adventure partner. Was that just a sweet phrase or a hint at something more? In a recent conversation, Peg finally addressed the question everyone's been whispering. With a playful smile, she said love isn't about rushing to the altar, it's about building something solid. She shared how their relationship has been unfolding naturally, without pressure. We're enjoying every chapter, she explained. Why skip ahead to the last page? Mel echoed her sentiment. He admitted that while marriage isn't off the table, they're savoring the journey. We've both lived full lives, he said. This time around, we want to do it right. Slow mornings, long talks, no rush. And honestly, that answer might be even more romantic than a surprise proposal. Because what they're building isn't based on television timelines or fan expectations. It's rooted in friendship, laughter, and mutual respect. Of course, that didn't stop the playful banter between them. When asked directly if he had a ring hidden somewhere, Mel laughed and said, "If I did, Peg would probably find it before I had the chance to propose." Peg immediately chimed in, "That's because I'm organized. I'd probably plan the proposal myself." Their chemistry remains undeniable, comfortable, teasing, deeply affectionate. Friends close to the couple say they've already blended their lives in meaningful ways. Weekend visits have turned into longer stays. They've met each other's families. Holiday plans are being discussed. And perhaps most telling of all, they're making future travel plans together. And if you know anything about couples at this stage of life, planning trips months ahead is basically a love language. There's something refreshing about their approach. In a world obsessed with grand gestures and dramatic announcements, Peg and Mel are choosing quiet joy.
They're choosing partnership over pressure. Still, the possibility of marriage lingers in the air. Peg has openly shared that she believes in love at every age. She's not closing the door on walking down the aisle again, but she's also not defining her happiness by it. She said, "I already feel committed. A ring doesn't create that, it just celebrates it." Mel, ever the romantic, added that if and when the moment feels right, he wants it to be meaningful, not flashy, not rushed, just them. And fans can't get enough. Bachelor Nation has embraced their story as proof that love stories don't have deadlines, that second chances can be even sweeter than first ones, that laughter and comfort might be the strongest foundation of all. Some viewers have even called them one of the most genuine connections to come out of the Golden Bachelor, not because they're making headlines, but because they're making memories. So, are Peg and Mel getting married? The honest answer is maybe. But what's even more beautiful is that they're not letting anyone else write their timeline. They're savoring spontaneous dance sessions in the kitchen. They're sharing inside jokes no one else understands. They're building a life that feels steady and joyful. And if one day Mel drops to one knee, well, don't be surprised if Peg already knew it was coming and had her outfit picked out. Until then, they're doing something quietly powerful, choosing each other every day. And sometimes that choice is far more meaningful than any ceremony. Their journey reminds us that love doesn't fade with time, it deepens. It becomes less about fireworks and more about warmth, less about grand speeches and more about shared glances across the room. As Peg once joked, "At this point in life, I don't need a prince, I need someone who knows where I left my glasses." Mel's response was, "I'll help you find them, but only if you help me remember why I walked into the kitchen." That playful, gentle love is what has people rooting for them. Whether there's a wedding in their future or simply a lifetime of laughter, Peg and Mel are proving something truly special. The best love stories don't always end with "I do." Sometimes they begin with "Let's see where this goes." And honestly, that might be the greatest adventure of all. If you believe love can bloom at any age, if Peg and Mel's story made you smile, stay tuned, because sometimes the sweetest chapters are still being written.
As the weeks go by, one thing becomes clearer than ever. Whatever Peg and Mel are building, it's not just a passing chapter. It's a steady, intentional love story unfolding in real time. After their recent public comments, fans noticed something subtle but powerful. They weren't dodging the marriage question. They weren't shutting it down. They simply weren't rushing it. And in today's world of instant announcements and viral proposals, that restraint feels almost rebellious. Peg recently shared that what she treasures most about this relationship is how easy it feels. No guessing games, no dramatic misunderstandings, no pressure to impress. Just two people choosing honesty and laughter over chaos. She joked that their biggest argument so far has been over which streaming show to binge next, and even that ended with them falling asleep halfway through the first episode. "We're wild like that," she teased. Mel, meanwhile, revealed something that made fans collectively melt. He said that what surprised him most wasn't the romance, it was the comfort. "It feels like home," he explained. "Not fireworks every second, just peace." And that word, peace, might be the key to understanding their connection. On The Golden Bachelor, viewers saw sparks, they saw chemistry, they saw a possibility, but what they couldn't fully see was the quiet consistency that followed once the cameras were gone. Behind the scenes, Peg and Mel have been building real-life rhythms, morning phone calls, shared recipes, inside jokes that don't translate to anyone else. Long drives with old songs playing in the background. Friends say Mel has started keeping a small drawer at Peg's place. Peg laughs about how he reorganized her spice rack. Without permission, she adds dramatically. Mel insists he was just improving efficiency. Peg insists he was being bossy. They both laugh. It's that playful back and forth that keeps their dynamic fresh.
But here's where things get even more interesting. Recently, Peg hinted at something that caught everyone's attention. She mentioned that they've had serious conversations about the future, not vague dreams, real discussions, where they'd live, how they'd split time between families, what commitment means to them now compared to decades ago. And that's when fans started whispering again, because serious conversations often lead somewhere meaningful. Mel admitted that this stage of life makes love feel different. There's less ego, less competition, more gratitude. When you've lived a full life, he said, you don't take connection for granted. Peg nodded in agreement and added something beautiful. I don't want a fairy tale. I want a partnership. And maybe that's what makes their story resonate so deeply. It's not about dramatic proposals or surprise engagement rings hidden in dessert. It's about showing up consistently, about choosing patience over pressure, about laughing when things don't go perfectly. Still, the possibility of a proposal lingers like a sweet secret in the air. Fans noticed Mel recently attended an event looking particularly sharp, tailored suit, polished shoes, confident smile. Peg couldn't stop complimenting him. Some joked he looked like a man preparing for a big announcement. When asked about it, Mel grinned and said, I always dress well. You never know when life might surprise you. That single sentence sent Bachelor Nation into another frenzy. Was it just a playful comment, or was he hinting at something bigger? Peg, of course, handled it with her signature humor. If he proposes, she laughed, I just hope he remembers to actually ask me before announcing it to the world. But beneath the jokes, there's undeniable depth. They've met each other's closest friends, they've shared stories about past heartbreaks, they've talked openly about what commitment means after experiencing both love and loss. And instead of rushing toward a milestone, they're savoring each day. One close friend described their relationship as steady and intentional, not flashy, not dramatic, just grounded. And in many ways, that's more romantic than any televised finale. Because what Peg and Mel are doing now isn't for ratings, it's for real life. There's something incredibly inspiring about watching two people discover that love doesn't diminish with time. It evolves. It becomes softer, wiser, and somehow even sweeter. Peg recently shared that the biggest surprise of this journey wasn't finding love, it was realizing she was still open to it. She said, I thought I knew what my story was. Turns out there was another chapter waiting. Mel responded by saying he feels lucky. Lucky that their paths crossed. Lucky that they were both brave enough to take a chance on something new. And maybe that's the real shock. Not whether they're getting married, not whether a ring is coming, but that love can still feel exciting, hopeful, and brand new, even after a lifetime of experiences. So where do things stand now? They're still together, still laughing, still planning, still choosing each other. And whether that leads to wedding vows or simply a long, beautiful companionship, one thing is certain, their connection is real. For now, Peg and Mel are writing their own timeline, one filled with humor, affection, and intentional love. And if a proposal does happen, don't worry. With these two, it won't be rushed, it won't be flashy, it'll be heartfelt, meaningful, and probably followed by a joke about who forgot to charge their phone to capture the moment. Because that's who they are. Two people who found each other when they least expected it, and decided that sometimes the greatest surprise isn't a ring, it's finding someone who makes ordinary days feel extraordinary. Thanks for watching Golden Bachelor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next big story.